Hi everyone, Leo Kahl here. I am in the beautiful, historic Central Florida town of Mount Dora. It's a gorgeous and quaint little town here in Florida on a brief vacation. So I wanted to do some plein air watercolor artwork. There's nothing better than painting outdoors to learn to paint quickly and efficiently as things keep changing, the light changes, you have lots of distractions which you need to try to ignore. But there's really nothing like painting in the outdoors to learn to work efficiently and to create high energy and spontaneous watercolor art. So with that being said, I'm going to do a little scene of this marina back here, and let's see if I can produce a nice watercolor of this Florida scene. So plein air watercolor painting can be challenging enough, but here in Florida, it can be even more challenging. So I spotted this small boat dock on the edge of Lake Dora, which is adjacent to the town of Mount Dora. And you'll see that the photograph on the upper left here and then the finished painting is quite a bit different. I'm rarely interested in an accurate rendition of what I see. I'm more about being inspired by the shapes and by the light, and whatever I can do to make it more romantic, more dramatic, I will take some artistic license and actually apply that to a scene. So for the next few minutes, you'll see me using a very soft squirrel hair mop, one of my favorite brushes, and I am applying what I call the glow layer. This is an initial layer that is a very translucent layer. It's a layer where I want the light to permeate through this layer of pigment, hit the white paper, bounce back out, and these areas of the painting are to kind of glow at the end of this process. So this is really called the glow layer, and it's really kind of a wet into wet application of paint, and it's generally pretty warm because the warmth of the pigment will help to energize the final painting. So cruising along here, I am looking, I keep looking for the warm undertones in this scene. Some very light, I think that's cerulean blue perhaps, letting that kind of drip down into the trees that I had previously painted will help give it a soft edge, will help make that background recede. So that's what I'm doing here. This initial glow layer, really the only thing that you can kind of mess up is not to protect some of your white. So I had envisioned some of the roofs being white. I later added some reddish hue to these, but think about your white shapes at this point and really just try to protect those and just keep kind of working wet into wet, and don't be worried about being too careful at this point. You really just want these shapes to kind of interact with one another, and again, just try to look for your whites and protect those, and everything else just can kind of bleed together. So reaching back for my large squirrel hair mop, you can see me putting down more gold undertones. One thing to keep a eye on is how I hold the brush on the very end. This helps me to be not too careful, and will infer a little bit more looseness into the scene. So at this point of a painting, I would rarely hold my brush close to the ferrule. So much of this initial glow layer is intended to help influence successive core layers. So you'll see me putting down, again, more warm tones, knowing that much of this will be overlaid with cooler shadow washes, but it's really that combination of two translucent washes that really give you a nice glowful effect in a watercolor. So approaching the end of this first layer of paint, I'm going back in, adding a few cool washes. Not everything is a warm hue in the beginning, but here it's kind of nice to do some wet into wet with some cool hues interacting with the warm hues that were beneath them in the water. It's kind of the reflections of the buildings and reflections of some of the trees in the background. So really these reflections form a unique shape all on their own. And for whatever reason, I felt like a little turquoise would enliven this layer somewhat. And here I'm going to put in some of the warm yellow-green undertones under some of this foreground grasses and weeds in the lower left corner. So I felt like there needed to be a bit more warm greens in this initial layer, so that's what I'm adding now, and actually pulling a few reflections down into the water. The roofs of these boathouses had sort of a rusty tin look to them, so I was going to leave them white and let them reflect the sky, but I felt like the warmth of the red would really help the painting. So that's what I'm doing now is introducing some of this kind of warm rust red into the buildings. So this is a good example of artistic license. Obviously, there was no red in the faces of these buildings, but I felt like this red would be a nice warm influence on the other buildings. So never be a slave to what you see. Paint what you feel, what you enjoy, what you like, but don't be a slave to what's actually there. Or if you're painting from a photograph, don't be a slave to a photo. So this initial glow layer is now finished, and I will let it sit in the sun and dry in preparation for the next layer of shadows. So with this initial glow layer dry, I am now mixing up a lot of warm and cool blues to use as shadow washes. At this stage of the game, I'm very interested in maintaining a level of translucency. Shadows to me are translucent; they're not solid. So what I'm doing is cooling the painting down. I'm looking for shadows under the eaves, distinguishing different shapes with shadows. Using a small mop, still a mop, but a fairly small, gives me a bit more control. And again, look at where I'm holding the brush. This will help impart more of an energy into the scene. You hold the brush too low and you have too much control. Control is boring. So always try to hold your brush on the end so that you're not too careful. So I continue to look for shadows, reflections. There's some cool reflections from the buildings into the water, and that's what I'm doing now with a small mop. It's not accurate. You're really painting more feeling than you are what you're actually seeing, if that makes sense. I paint all my watercolors in a very structured and methodical manner, where I divide the effort of the painting into four layers, 4 value layers. So this is layer number 3, actually, because the white of the paper was the first layer, the glow layer was the light middle values, and now this layer is the kind of darker middle values. While doing this plein air watercolor painting, I was ignoring many distractions. There was a lot of bugs. There were some gentlemen on cell phones speaking very loudly. They were smoking very pungent cigars. So a lot of things to attract your attention. But in a few minutes here, I hear a large splash about 20 feet directly behind me. And I will take my camera over to investigate to see what the loud splash was. And this will now add a whole nother level of urgency to my plein air painting in Florida. What I discovered directly behind me was about an 8 to 10 foot Florida alligator. And I have no idea if alligators are attracted to watercolor painters, but I wasn't taking any chances, and I moved my setup about another 30 or 40 feet away from the shoreline. I'm now moving to a process of the painting called dry brush. This is where I reach for kind of sticky, gooey, opaque pigment, and I like to contrast that against a lot of the soft washes that I had previously put down. It helps these shapes to come forward in the scene. So this is nearing the end of the process, and you'll see me playing around with some more intense hues here. I'm adding some brighter hues near my focal area to help pull your eye into that area, and by using some bright details, this will really attract my viewer's eye, and that's what I'm doing now. So there's nothing like having a 10-foot alligator very close to you while you're working. It's a little bit unnerving, I have to say, And what it does is it forces you to work really quickly to get the painting done and to get out of there. But I think that working with a sense of urgency is incredibly important for a watercolor painting, especially a plein air watercolor painting, because this is what gives a painting energy. If you dilly-daddle too long, if you're too careful, you take too much time, you'll end up with kind of a staid painting. So the alligator was a good thing. He got me to get moving here quickly, and I have to thank him for that. So nearing the end of the painting, you see I'm doing a little splatter here for some of the tree foliage. I never ever try to paint foliage. It's always accomplished with some sort of splatter. Trees have a wildness about them, and if you try to paint them by hand, they just do not look wild. So always opt for some splatter. Here I'm going to add some highlights, some opaque white highlights to some of the figures and some of the rigging on the sailboats, and here and there, not too much, but just a few places to again help draw the viewer's eye to my focal area. At this point of my painting process, it's really a great time to maybe look for areas where some intense color, intense hues could really help enliven the painting, make it a little bit more exciting. Here I'm again adding more highlights to some of the figure's head and shoulders, and this will really attract the viewer's eye. This is a fun part of the watercolor process. This is when you add what I call a cheesecake. Some watercolor artists call it the jewelry, but you can really be creative and have some fun and really add life and add story to your painting by just very subtly suggesting additional figures and some signage and windows and whatnot in your painting. But this is really a fun part and really the last part of the watercolor process. So still not finished. One more thing to do, and that is to sign your painting. It's always very fun to take pride in what you've created and go ahead and put your John Hancock somewhere on the corner of the painting. So removing the masking tape from the edges of your painting is really a satisfying thing to do. It isolates the painting and makes it look like it has a little white mat board around it. So here's the finished painting. With the alligator behind me and all the bugs and the people talking and the cigar smoke, I work rather quickly, but that is the key to a good plein air painting, and that is to work quickly. If you've enjoyed and gained some knowledge from this video, please hit the like button if you would. This will really help me grow this channel. Be sure to subscribe as well to see all future free watercolor tutorials. Hit the little bell icon to be alerted about new videos. I also love hearing from my viewers. Please leave a comment or ask any questions you'd like. I'll do my best to respond to all comments. If you know of anyone interested in the arts, especially watercolor, please share this link with them. So whenever I create a painting that's maybe a little less than amazing, it's usually because I've overlooked or not emphasized one of these key attributes of a good watercolor painting. So I put together this little evaluation chart, and it's a handy tool, and a lot of my students really enjoy using it. And I'm making this available on my website, and I'll give you a link to that in the description below. But you can kind of rate each aspect of your painting, and if you end up with a good score, then you may have a very nice watercolor on your hands. Download the PDF file and get a color copy made, and then have it laminated, and you'll be able to use this chart over and over again for each one of your paintings. You can download this file on my website at leokahlwatercolors.com, and while you're on the download page, if you would, and if you'd like to hear more from me about workshops and more painting videos, go ahead and join my team and give me your email, and I promise it will not go anywhere other than my computer. So if you would do that, that would really help me out. And please enjoy your report card and let me know if it helps you. I would love to hear some feedback.